When you hear the name Hormuz, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably oil tankers, right? Geopolitical tensions. It's a name you see in the headlines all the time. But what if I told you that behind all that noise, there's an island that looks like it's straight out of a fantasy novel? Today, we're going to peel back those headlines and explore the other Hormuz. Yeah, what if that strategic choke point was also the gateway to one of the most surreal, jaw-dropping landscapes on the entire planet? So let's dive right in, because Hormuz Island is a place of incredible, and I mean incredible contrasts. And this really just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the world's perception, a choke point, a line on a map. But then you have the reality on the ground, a geological paradise, a kaleidoscope of color so intense they call it Rainbow Island. It is, no joke, a geologist's dream. So you're probably asking, how on earth did this tiny island become such an explosion of color? Well, the secret is buried deep, deep underground, and it's a story that's been millions of years in the making. Okay, let's just run through some of the absolute must-sees. Picture this. You're walking through the Rainbow Valley and you're surrounded by hills streaked with more than 70 different colors. Then you wander over to the RedBeach, where the sand is so full of iron oxide it actually stains the waves red. Not far from there is the Salt Goddess Cave, a cavern that just glitters with salt crystals, and it's so quiet they call it the Valley of Silence. And to top it all off, you've got the Valley of Statues, where nature itself decided to become a sculpture, carving rocks into creatures like dragons and eagles. It's wild. So what's the magic trick here? How did this all happen? It all comes down to something called a salt diapir. Just imagine a massive underground dome of ancient salt. Over millions and millions of years, immense geological pressure squeezed the salt, forcing it up towards the surface. And as it pushed its way up, it dragged this incredible mix of colorful minerals and volcanic rocks along for the ride, creating the amazing palette we see today. And just to really wrap your head around the timescale here, we're talking about rocks and minerals that are about 600 million years old. They've been pushed up from the depths of the earth. But the island itself, it only popped up out of the sea about 50,000 years ago. So in a way, it's like a brand new island made of some of the oldest stuff around. Okay, so the geology is mind-blowing, but that's only half the story of Hormuz. For centuries, because of exactly where it is, this island was a priceless fortress, a strategic prize that empires literally fought and died for. So let's do a quick time travel, shall we? Back in the 11th century, the Kingdom of Hormuz started out on the mainland as a huge trading power. Around 1300, to get away from constant attacks, they made a big move. They shifted their capital to the island. It quickly became this legendary, super wealthy port. Of course, that kind of wealth gets you noticed. In 1507, the Portuguese showed up and took it. For more than 100 years, they controlled the entire Persian Gulf from this tiny island, until 1622, when the Persian ruler Shah Abbas the Great, with a little help from the English, finally took it back. And just look at this. This is what's left from all that fighting. This is the Portuguese castle, and it still stands guard on the coast. Can you just imagine? For over a century, from this one red stone fortress, its masters controlled one of the most important trade routes in the entire world. Yeah, these cannons aren't firing anymore, thank goodness. But wow, they are such a powerful reminder of a time when this little island was a huge deal. A prize so valuable that the world's biggest empires were willing to go to war over it. So why this specific island? Why all the fuss? This quote kind of says it all. You see, they moved to the island to be safe, but being safe and in the absolute perfect spot for trade made them incredibly rich, and being rich made them an irresistible target. It's a classic story, right? All right, we've talked rocks, we've talked empires, but what about the people who actually call this colorful island home today? I mean, what's it like to live your life in a landscape this extraordinary? It's easy to look at all this and just think, wow, that's beautiful. But is it, useful? Can you do anything with all that colorful dirt? Well, the answer is a big yes, and you're probably not going to believe how. Okay, get ready, because this might be the wildest fact about Hormuz. That brilliant red soil? The locals call it geolic, and it's edible. Yep, it's rich in minerals, and they use it as a spice. It's the secret ingredient in a famous local fish dish called surreal. I'm not kidding. People there don't just walk on the ground, they bake it into their dinner. And if they're not eating it, they're creating with it. The soil itself is the paint, the medium, the inspiration. You see it in the art at places like the Dr. Nadelian Museum. And for years, artists would come together to create the Hormuz soil carpet, a massive, stunning mosaic made entirely out of the island's different colored soils. Just incredible. So this deep connection to the earth, it's ancient. It's part of their soul. And now, that same connection is being used to build the island's future, mixing old materials with brand new, sustainable ideas. Check this out, the Majara Residence. It's this amazing hotel made of 200 colorful domes that look like they just grew out of the landscape. It was built using this cool technique called super adobe, which uses bags filled with, you guessed it, earth from right there on the island. But here's the best part. This wasn't just about building a hotel, it was about building up the community. The project trained and hired local people, giving them new skills and creating a sustainable way for the island to thrive. Okay, so if all this has you ready to pack your bags, and I don't blame you, let's talk about a few things you should probably know before you go. First up, where exactly is it, and how do you get there? Well, Hormuz is tiny, only about 42 square kilometers, and it's just 8 kilometers off the Iranian coast. Getting there is pretty simple. You just hop on a public ferry from the port city of Bandar Abbas.
All right, when you're planning your trip, timing is everything. You'll want to go between mid-autumn and early spring, because the summer heat is no joke. And as you're exploring all the amazing sights, there's one really important rule. Please do not take any of the colorful soil. It might seem harmless, but it's a super fragile resource that takes thousands of years to form. Let's help keep this incredible place incredible for everyone for generations to come. Hormuz really proves it, doesn't it? The story we hear in the news is almost never the whole story. A place the world defines by conflict can also be a place of breathtaking beauty, deep history, and an amazing, resilient culture. It really makes you wonder, right? What other wonders are out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to look a little closer?